5, 4, 3, 2.
Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 41 of the VR Inside podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathies YouTube channel. You can tune into the show live at the new times of 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. If you missed the live show, you can catch up with the whole show as I re-upload it on my own channel, Virtual Reality Oasis. Or you can check out the audio-only version, which is available on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback during the show, please put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. So if you're new to the show, let me introduce you to the team. First up, this guy is back from his trip, getting the freshest scoops from the show floor at E3 in Los Angeles. It is, of course, Nathie. How you doing, dude? You got any jet lag, or you feeling good?
A little bit of a jet lag, but for the show, I'm always awake, man.
Such a trooper. Such a trooper. So it's good to see that you're back and you made it back in one piece. You didn't get ravaged by LA. It didn't ruin you.
No. It's a wild city, but I'm fine. You know, I came for the VR, so.
Yeah. You're made of stronger things.
Of course.
Okay, so next up, the prison boss is back with a vengeance this week. Breaking out of prison once again. It is, of course, Rowdy Guy. How you doing, dude? You all right?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing pretty great, you know. Like they say, the prison boss is back. I've had so many comments on that video. Are you going to play more prison boss? Oh, the prison boss is back. Oh, prison boss this, prison boss that. I just can't get away from that. But it's all good. It's all good. You know, I enjoyed that game and I enjoyed that one as well, so... yeah.
Does it feel good to be back inside and then back outside again?
Well, actually, the funny thing is we also played A Way Out, so it was also like with prison. So that pretty much all of the games that I play on my channel have something to do with the prison. So it's you know.
It's good. I'm glad you're sort of back. You know, with what people love. You know, the content. You know? Yeah. Okay, so next up, soon he's going to be heading off to the Emerald Island. It is our resident VR Twitch streamer, Zimtok5, of course. How you doing, mate? You all right?
I'm good, Mike. Got eaten by gators this week a lot. Yeah. And I will tell you more about that later.
But you're off away soon, right? You're going to have some time off and enjoy some sort of downtime. So you're looking forward to that, dude?
Yeah, bing, bang, boom. I mean, it's good to have, it's 2 weeks of what we call mandatory absence. So they kick you out of the office and you can't do anything. You can't take a phone call. I'm actually driving by Dublin and we've got an office over there and it's like, can't even go to the office, can't meet someone outside from the place. Like there's all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's going to be a long car trip. It's about 2 days driving to get kind of where my parents are and all that. So it should be fun. And I'll be doing some stuff, you know, on the road and while we're over there as well. So stream-wise should be good and podcasting from the road.
Cool. No, I look forward to it. So, last but by no means least, myself, Mike, the host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's episode, we're going to just be talking about E3, really. It's going to be the E3 roundup episode. It's going to be our thoughts on the presence of VR at E3 this year, and we're going to be going through the highs and lows of the show, detailing all the juiciest games that you can look forward to coming up in VR in the near future as well. So I hope you guys and girls enjoy this one. But first, let's check out what everyone's been playing this week. Maybe for Nathie, it should be like, what haven't you played this week? Because you seem to be playing a lot of games this week. So maybe let's start it off with like Rowdy and find out what you've been playing this week in virtual reality, dude.
Yeah, I played a couple of games, but there's actually one that I wanted to highlight. It was actually a demo that I tried. I don't know if it's been out already for a long time, but it's called Border Patrol VR. You know it, Mike?
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about it as well, but I'll let you take the spotlight.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. I didn't know. I actually recorded a video, but I haven't actually played about. I haven't actually uploaded yet. It's going live today. But it's a very fun kind of title. It comes a little bit from that. I don't know if you guys know it. Probably do, like Papers, Please.
Yeah, of course.
Where you need to check all the different kind of documents. You need to check all the regions they're coming from. In the game you also need to check if they're carrying any like contraband. So you need to use like your little scanner to see like where it is that the contraband is hiding. It reminded me a little bit of another game that I played, which is called TSA Frisky. which actually changed the concept completely. Because they started off as like where you only had to frisk people, but now it's also like, you know, turning more into like a game. But with Border Patrol, they took that really to like the next level, and they really like copied Papers, Please a little bit. I mean, in terms of the concept, and where they're trying to like give you the feeling that you're actually doing something, all in like a very fun way, because they also have like some kind of like weird story intertwined, just like Papers, Please has as well, like some kind of weird story that is like intertwined, and based on the events that are happening there, you need to allow certain people and make sure that other people don't get in. I got a bomb dropped. I need to like defuse the bomb. Then I got like some weird guy that came on. The only thing he said was blue, 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 and everything on his card was like blue and like flashing everything. So I have no idea what is all going on, but it's only a demo, so you only get through, I think, the first round. At least I did, and then after it takes like maybe like 10 minutes or something, and then they say like thank you for playing, and I'm guessing that, you know, they're gonna like make a full game out of that, and that I'm actually looking forward to that, because I actually had a little bit of fun just messing around with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I checked out the demo as well, and I really enjoyed it, because I was a massive fan of Papers, Please. Like I really loved that game. And like Rowdy said, like if you haven't checked out Papers, Please, it's like a really sort of basic, like graphically looking game, but you sort of work on a border patrol like control point, and your family's hungry and they're getting cold, and you have to feed them. And like Rowdy says, like they kind of incorporated a bit of that in Border Patrol, in that, you know, you have to make these decisions that may affect your personal home life, as well as like the sort of security of the border. So
did you get that in the game already with Border Patrol? Because I saw I received for like funds, but I didn't receive like anything that I could already like, you know, invest in. Or I
didn't actually see anything, but I totally get that vibe from it. Like it must be, because there's parts of the game where you're in your home apartment and you're looking at the news and stuff like that. And basically, if you've done something during the day, then that will be reflected in the news later on that night. And like Rowdy said, like a bomb just randomly got delivered, and you were like, holy crap, what do I do with this? Had to defuse it quickly, and then it's like, oh yeah, hero saves the day at the border checkpoint, because
but with me it exploded actually.
Oh wow, you know.
With me it exploded, but it just said like bang, haha, next time it will be a real bomb, like something like that, like something really random. Like I mean, it's a free demo as well. It was completely free on the store, so that's actually quite nice. But yeah, it's actually a really cool title. I had good fun with that one.
Yeah, I did as well, and I think the mechanics of actually scanning the robots and searching them was really cleverly done, because they're on this little plate which you can rotate, and then you have to scan them with like a metal detector to see where the hidden compartment is, and then you can actually pull that compartment open and find the contraband inside, which is like a cupcake or something. You have to take it out and confiscate it, and then like reject their application to go through the border.
I really had a good, because you could like slam them as well. You could punch them.
Oh,
they're all robots. They're all
robots. But you have to be careful, like, and I imagine they'll incorporate that later on in the game as well, like they did in Papers, Please, is that like at some points, certain manufactured robots won't be able to pass through the border, or if they're manufactured in a certain date range, they can't pass the border. So you really have to be aware of like the rules of each level, like which will happen later on, I'm assuming. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm actually looking forward to this one as well. I think it's going to be cool. But like Rowdy said, if you want to check out the demo, you can check it out for free right now on Steam. It works on the Rift and the Vive, and probably Windows Mixed Reality as well. So
yeah, exactly.
Great to see that concept come over. It's kind of like keep talking, nobody explodes. Like that same formula being applied to other 2D games that we've seen in the past be successful. I'm totally okay with devs copying and just taking a beautiful idea and just bringing it into VR, because the more we see that, the better, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And Papers, Please was such a fantastic game. It totally makes sense in VR. Like, you're actually taking the role of that person. So yeah,
you can play it in a like you can play it in a small
things, like when you get mid game and you've got like 16 documents and you're like, where is the digit that I'm looking for?
But the cool thing is you can play it in like a confined space. That's the neat thing why it works so well in VR as well, because you can just use like the room scale experience. You don't need to be like teleporting. You don't need to be walking forward. You have no locomotion. You can just be in that confined space, look around, and just take your stuff. And you can play it even seated, I think, if you really want to.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, there is a Border Patrol. So go and check that out on Steam. The demo's free, available right now. So what about you, Zim? What did you check out this week in VR?
Yeah, I already chomped a bit on that one, didn't I, about Resident Evil? So last week I talked about a Resident Evil 7 DLC that was free. So this week I finally got onto the one that I paid for, which was End of Zoe, which I think is the latest DLC that they dropped for Resident Evil 7. And I mentioned gators. Yeah, so there's a lot of water in this one. And there are these fucking giant ass gators that hunt you, and literally this is the way the game works. It like you have to fashion a spear basically, and you spear this first gator, and you're like, okay, I'm done. You're wading through these like reeds in the dark, and then there's 2 more gators, and it's like, what do I do? And there are literally segments where there are like 8 gators, and you have to like zigzag your way through this dark mess, and half the time you're getting gobbled up by these things, and they're not nice. They eat you halfway, and then they do a little bit of chewing before you're done. So it feels very visceral. It's a visceral experience. It's absolutely, you know, another great Resident Evil 7 DLC. It got a buy rating for me. It's a, you know, I can't believe that they made so many kind of sub games to the main game that were really good. I mean, the amount of hourage you can get out of Resident Evil 7 and all the DLC combined.
And also the fact that it's compatible with PSVR across all the DLC as well.
Not all the DLC. So I think 3 or 4 of their DLC, which is 2D only, and I've just never done that.
Yeah.
Right.
But in total, there's about 5 or maybe 6 DLC, which is VR compatible.
Yeah.
And the way they usually do it is like they'll have 3 modules in a DLC that you buy, and of those 2 will support VR.
Yeah.
Oh.
So many hours of pure horror.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I've been kind of avoiding horror games the last couple of months. And to go back in and kind of get the adrenaline going and have a couple of shriek moments, you know, it kind of feels good. It's weird kind of sadomasochistic thing that's going on there, I'm sure, but it actually feels pretty good. Then a couple of other games that I'll mention, because you guys have mentioned liking them in the past, and I think they deserve some airtime. Daedalus, I played on Oculus Go, which essentially you're a giant bouncing marble. I'll call it that, and it's a puzzler. But just some of the things that happen, the kind of party tricks, as I called it, that happen as you progress. Like you can see how Vertical Robot, you know, was already on the trajectory for things like Red Matter. Like you can see how much quality they have in their games. And it's great to see, because that's one of the ones where you think about it, you're like, okay, a bouncing marble game, this sounds kind of boring, and then you get into it and you're like, wow, this is actually really chill, and I could play this for ages. And then the second game like that was Xing the Land Beyond. I didn't get too far into it, maybe about an hour. I think Nathie's spoken well of it in the past, and so I said, okay, I've got to finally do this one. And I was really impressed, actually. Really impressed. Another puzzle game. So the reason I only did the hour, because it was like late at night. I'm like, okay, you know, when your brain just can't. I'll tell you what turned me off it. This is what I said to my stream. I was like, okay, we're now 2 little messages in, and they were both rhyming poetry. If there's the third fucking rhyming piece of poetry, I'm quitting. And so I kept to my word, and I left at that point. So I'm gonna have to go back when I've got a bit more sleep in me, because rhyming poetry is hard to take.
So Zing the Land Beyond, is that available on the Oculus Store, or is it just still on Steam? It's on the Oculus Store as well.
That's where I'm playing it.
It's funny because I've always followed that title Xing like for a long time, because it's been in development for quite a while. I think when it was announced for when the Oculus Rift was like being developed, they were already like developing the game.
And there was a DK1 demo that you could play on Share.
Yeah. And I actually never.
It was out, I'm sure.
I actually never got a chance to play it yet. So which is
definitely. I'm gonna double tap on what Nathie said before. It's definitely a must play. And I think but the penny just dropped in my head here. I'll bet you they want you to pronounce it crossing, because in the States XING is crossing, and they have a kind of whole porting thing going. So I think it's Crossing the Land Beyond.
But I think it's pronounced Zing, isn't it? Like as in Zing the Land Beyond.
Yeah, Zing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to write that.
Crossing.
Vote in chat now.
Right, we're gonna have like a war.
I kind of like Zim's suggestion, you know, with the crossing. Yeah. Maybe they should just make it into that.
If they're a US developer, I'll bet that's it, because in the States there are literally signs that say Xing, and that means like crossing, like level crossing.
Yeah. So Brian Foster said that he believes it's meant to mean crossing.
Ooh,
because there's all these like portals, like from the very beginning, it's like portal interactions. But Nathie, what do you remember about the game? Did you actually get very far in it, or? Just touch your feet.
Yeah, so you had like a lobby where you could join like different worlds. I think I played like the first 2 worlds. Like the first one was like an Easter island, and then the second one was like a forest. But it looks very nice, and the puzzles are it's a good puzzler. It's not the hardest one. It's more like a medium puzzle game. Like the puzzles are challenging. They are, and the longer you play, the harder they get. So
Okay.
But it's interesting you mentioned Daedalus on the go as well, because you know I played that a lot, especially during the when I was doing the battery test and I was playing the go for like 14 hours. I played a lot of like Daedalus because it was so relaxing to play. I could just play it for a few hours and really sort of chill out. And yeah, I really like the sort of the movement in it. Bearing in mind, like you're actually jumping and you're traversing like in free locomotion through this environment, it's actually very, very comfortable to play. And that's because you're actually in a metal cage, and they use that sort of movable cage to great effect to stop that sort of motion sickness from coming on. So you know, hats off to Vertical Robot for getting that sort of nailed in VR, especially in a mobile game.
Very good. So I just mentioned 2 others, and I won't stay on them. But I played Rush. I played that on the Rift. So speaking of comfort, it was comfortable. It's a skydiving type one, where you're a wing, a bodysuit glider. I think that was kind of passable just because of how they designed it, and they locked levels away, and you have to kind of beat AI. And I never like when they do that. And it's like, I just want to kind of try the other levels, and they lock it behind AI. And then I tried Catan, which is another one like Xing. I thought I'm gonna find this boring, and I found Catan actually really, really good. An online presence, like it was a laughable thing for about 2 hours. Me and some lads, one guy from the Middle East, one guy who was obviously high off of his head. And it was just really fun to play.
So was that 2 hours for a single game, or do you play multiple games?
Yeah, I suck at Catan.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing that worries me about playing this game, because like I've never played it before in my life, and I don't think I have 2 hours spare.
Well, no, it's one of those games that takes. I played it as well, and it was also I think 1.5 hours already for like a single game, and that was against AI because I was trying to learn it. So
if you don't know what you're doing, I'd say it could probably take you up to an hour for your first match. But we were just kind of like, I didn't know how to change the turn. We were just kind of.
But how interactive is it? Is it only playing in front of you on like because it's a board game, or is there also are there things going around? Like...
I think the best comparison is like Werewolves Within. You have hand gestures and like moving your faces. You got characters that you can make and stuff. So I think it's very much
like
like
the room around you is transforming and really.
You have different rooms though. You can change like different art styles, like different. You have like
customization you can do as well.
You have like
the paintings on the walls.
It's not transpiring based on the gameplay.
No.
The board interacts with you a little bit, and I played Catan only once ever before in real life, and I was kind of like remembering how the game works, which it's a territory capture game. But the thing I was going to mention is I played with 2 other Go players, and I was in Rift, and like they could wave their hand and stuff like that, and the voice went really well, and it's well implemented. It's worth doing if you got a free hour, I'd say.
But talking about territory capture games, like they need to bring Monopoly to Oculus Rims. That is what we need right now. Like Oculus Rims is so great, like with Boggle and
or just like in general, like
else, but we need like a proper game.
Or just in general, like just board games in general that you can like just load them up, Stratego, Cluedo, whatever it is,
Maybe not Monopoly.
I would welcome them all.
I do have a couple of family members buried in the back garden because of Monopoly.
Well, exactly, because you're playing in VR, you can't actually hurt anyone. So
that's the problem. That's the problem.
So I know you've been playing a lot this week, Nathie, but is there anything you want to sort of talk about and specifically you want to highlight one particular game or experience?
Okay, so well, first of all, when I was in the plane, I played some Mario games on my Nintendo Switch. Now that's Pancake, so not that interesting. But more interesting now we're getting there is that in the plane they usually have Netflix, right, where you can watch all kinds of movies. So I decided to watch Jumanji because I had no other choice. I was like I just heard you guys whispering into my ears like you need to watch this and then think about the game they made as well, And I have to say the movie is very nice, really fun.
It's okay.
Does it make you want to play the game now? Is that
no?
Just shout, Nathie.
Like I was trying to remember all the things they did in the Jumanji VR game and in the movie, but for some reason that just didn't match.
No.
But So that's something I did. And on the show floor, yeah, I played a lot of stuff at E3. One I can highlight is...
I suppose we're going to talk about a lot of them later on anyway,
yeah,
aren't we? There,
yeah,
right?
so...
but yeah, so did you take your Go with you when you went to E3,
no.
or was no? You didn't.
No. I wanted to test that, but I kind of had to like... Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really even like think about it in the first place. And of course, everyone takes their Go on a plane, but maybe I want to do it on like a short plane flight and not really a long one. I want to test it. That's for sure. But yeah.
So like this week, I was going to talk about Border Patrol as well, but I'll talk about another game which I did play. I went back and actually completed Moss. I sort of said to myself last week that I was going to go back and finish that game because otherwise, you know, you guys probably experienced it as well, that we're the worst for starting the start of a game, thinking it's amazing, and then like we're moving on to the next game because we kind of have to, and we want to make videos or we want to cover it on.
I still try doing that, you know. I still try if there's a good game, like I mean, there's been a couple of titles that I've finished. I think Zim is quite good in that as well. So because he streams so much, I mean, not finishing the game, but like at least like, you know, getting into a lot of hours. Like I mean, if you look at how much he's played Skyrim,
yeah, totally. And you know, I was just like, I enjoyed the beginning of Moss so much, and it felt like a really sort of refreshing game, and I was really happy that it came to the Rift as well, and the touch controls were really well implemented. It was graphically gorgeous to play, really sort of relaxed and chilled as well, and Quill is just such like an adorable little character that you can't help but fall in love with her. And so, yeah, I was really keen to go back. So I did put some time aside. I did go back and finish it. Rowdy sort of kindly sort of told me that it was only like 3 hours long anyway. So it wasn't going to take up like my whole day to finish it. And yeah, it was a nice enough game. You know, the length I think was a little bit disappointing because I just wanted more. But they did sort of, you know, a spoiler. They did sort of say at the end that this is the end of book 1, and there will be another sort of book to the series. So it's not going to be the end of Quill's adventure. We're definitely going to see more of that sort of game.
What I think about Moss, like the best thing about Moss is that Quill as a character is one that we can add to the lineup of characters we can remember and respect within the VR industry, right?
Good point.
I think
that's the best about this game. You know, we have.
For me, I think that the best part of the game was that although it's short, for me it didn't like dip somewhere. I found it like interesting from the beginning up until the end, and I found the ending come too quickly because I found the game too short. But it was a pleasant experience from the beginning up until the end.
Yeah,
that's
completely.
what I liked. Yeah,
completely. And it was funny because I remembered you guys had mentioned that if you hold her, like if you grab her, then you can actually feel her heartbeat through the controller. I think that's such a neat little feature, and it was all those kind of like little things that added up to such a magical experience. And you know, I like collect like Funko Pops and stuff like that, and I'm like desperate to try and get like a little Quill character for my collection now.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
They're hard to find.
Yeah, well, no, because they do them at conventions and stuff. They'll say, "I've never seen like the devs will tweet out like, oh, and Quill is hidden, and if you find the Quill and you bring Quill to the devs." I think you get some kind of pack and a copy of the game.
So what you're saying, Zim, is that it's going to cost me like £1,000 for a flight to America to go to a show to then have to go on an adventure to find her. Right? Okay, I'm willing to sacrifice my money and my time.
That's a very good point there, Mike. I missed. Nathie needs to answer this question. It was his first time in my homeland. So, impressions of America, sir.
My impressions of America. Ooh, that's a good one.
If you got outside, I don't know if you even.
I did go outside as well. Yes, it's like I went to LA because that's where the E3 happens every year. But I mean, it's different than you know from the movies. That's for sure. But it was interesting. Like first of all, you know, LA is a very rich place. But for some reason, rich and poor can live together there, and you know, there's no like really you know, middle class. It's like or very rich or very poor. So like here in the Netherlands, we don't really have that many poor people. So it's always very strange to see people walking with signs or people that are like totally, you know, fucked up. So that's something I noticed. Like lots of rich people, but also lots of poor people. And then on the tourist side, we went to Griffith Park, you know, the highest spot where they have like the observatorium. I don't know how you call it, like
observatory.
Yeah, that, and of course we stared at the Hollywood sign, and we went to the Walk of Fame, and we went to Venice Beach. You know, like the casual like tourist spots. But that's something I was like, maybe Venice Beach is something I want to go to again. But the other ones, I was like, okay, that's one time, and I will never go here again. It's cool, but it's such a like tourist swarm thing, and they want you to go on every tour, and they try to lurk you into every store, and I don't know, it was just a little bit too much in my opinion, but it was still cool to experience.
I can imagine like LA is probably a little bit like Vegas, you know, it's kind of a bit fake. Do you know what I mean? Like there's things about it that are a bit fake. I don't know. I've never been there. I kind of get that vibe from it though.
Of course, like the tourist locations are pretty fake. But then when you travel around a bit more, because we had our own car, so we could go wherever we wanted. So there are places where you can really see it's poor, and it's more like the real city. And then you also have places where it's more like, hey, tourists like to go here, so let's make it very polished looking and cool and fun and crazy, you know.
That was my impression of LA, because I only just went to LA about a month ago, and for the first time. And the thing that I noticed was like the highways and that, and the fact that you're driving everywhere and for a long time. It's like the amount of your life that goes into commuting in LA is just nuts.
It is. Like we stayed in Hollywood Hills, and we had to go to the E3, and we had to travel for an hour to get there.
Wow, that's crazy.
And then you're still in the city.
Yeah.
You know, usually when I drive here in Netherlands, like you can do the Netherlands in like a 3-4 hour drive.
Yeah.
So
Belgium too.
Know, yeah. Heck.
Done.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking more about E3 a little bit later on. So let's just start off the show with some quick news this week. So to get these out of the way, first up is the VR League. So we mentioned this on a previous episode of the show, but the VR League, which is sort of brought together by ESL, Intel and Oculus, is all sort of kicking off this week. A friend of the show, actually, Lonely Viper, is currently at the VR League. I'm not sure if he's actually taking part or if he's just commentating on the show.
Wait, because he texted me today and what he was doing, because he was actually now coordinating the spectate cameras. So all of the cameras that is being handled by him now. But nice. He's also, I think he's also commentating, because that's what he basically does with a lot of the shows already. So yeah, I think that's what he's doing. He's having a ton of fun though.
I'm surprised he's not taking part as well, because like the guy's like
good.
Onward.
Yeah, but I still think that those guys are like on like an even higher level than him maybe. Although I do know that he plays with a team that is doing fairly well as well. So. But maybe this is like only like a certain region of tournaments. I don't know the specifics of it. So maybe he had to choose between entering and actually doing this, and then the choices. Yeah.
But yeah, like you know, I checked out a couple of the streams just before the show, and it, like Nathie just said, it looks really, really nice. They've got a really slick setup over there.
It's really good, really well done. Also, really the stream itself.
You can really see the like electronic esports in VR come to life with this.
Yes,
you know?
yes, absolutely.
And the cool thing is how they mounted it with like all the different parts. Like they have like mats for everyone, and like it's like all like it felt like a little bit robotic, but like in a cool way. Like they have them like lined up in like vertical rows, and every one of them is like playing like this, like you know, like looking like the in the distance. That was so cool.
That scene in Ready Player One where
they're all exactly. That's what it reminded me of. I think they did that on purpose. I think they did it on purpose.
It looks very, very cool. And then they've got like an overview of the map, and then they've got commentators involved, and it switches to different cameras to see different perspectives. Gets really involved in the action as well. So if you like Onward and you want to check it out, it's pretty much going on like now. So maybe wait until after the show, but you can check it out on Facebook. If you just type in VR League in Facebook, you'll find the live stream there, and you can check it out yourself.
The thing I think that's really interesting about VR esports is that stamina really comes into it. You know, if you're standing for 3 or 4 hours competing, like not only are you needing to be accurate and actually be good at whatever game you're playing, there's a few things that come into it, like stamina. And the second thing, which a lot of people forget about, battery life. Have an extra batteries in your pocket if you're competing in a competitive multiplayer VR match. That's bit me a few times.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm sure that I think they were all using like wired riffs, so the only thing they've got to worry about is like
I think the thing is, because I talked with Vive about that as well, because I was surprised that they were going to use Rifts, but I think it's because it's like hosted by Oculus. They also provide all of the materials for it, so they actually. And I think a lot of the players were not really pleased about that, because they would like to bring their own kit, of course, because they're so comfortable playing with their own. But I think it was all like, you know, predetermined, like everyone plays with its kind of setup.
Yeah, I did see a lot of stocks though. A lot of the players were using like 3D printed stocks or Pro Tubes. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting that even the pros do actually use that kind of kit. But yeah, it was very cool to watch.
I agree with Rowdy. Like, it would be fun later down the road where everyone can just bring their own headset. They can play with whatever they want. But as you may know, Oculus is now trying to start up with ESL, you know, to kind of bring that to the market. So hopefully later on we will just not have like a branded.
It would be cool to see like some kind of like, you know, like Formula 1 scene where you see like a complete team that like makes sure your entire kit is like an order. It's like, oh, I need that stock now, and it'd be like, oh yeah, here's your new stock.
But then they'd be like, oh, this headset's running at like 120 frames per second. They've got like an unfair advantage. They can see it at a microsecond.
Yeah, but I think at that time, you know, like with Formula 1 as well, like, you know, all of them have like their specific setup or like their specific tires. But I don't think it's like the difference in like, you know, in refresh rate that will do it then, because they'll probably all be having like the best kind of stuff. Anyway.
You guys gave me this great idea now. There's an event here in the UK which has been going for like 20 years, which is a BYOC, a Bring Your Own Computer event. And it's called Insomnia. And you go there and you link up, and it's like QuakeCon. So you have it's just a giant LAN. And we should have, I don't know who out there can support this, but we should have a BYOVR, you know, LAN party somewhere in the world. And I'd like to go.
Maybe we're the ones that need to make something like this happen.
So
that'd be awesome.
Okay, so the next bit of quick news this week is Henry is now available on the Oculus Go. Again, we mentioned it on a previous episode, but you can download it for free from this week. And it uses this new sort of video technology. It's 5K times 5K at 60 frames per second. It's a new technology that was invented and sort of made by John Carmack at Oculus. Very well respected dev at Oculus team. And it's a really, really cool way of showing this like high frame rate, high fidelity video on a mobile headset. And I have to say, like, I checked it out this week, and it was very difficult to tell that it was actually a 360 video, because that's essentially what it is. Whereas on the Rift, it's like, you know, rendered in real time, and you can sort of interact with it a little bit, like by moving your heads forward and backwards. But on the Go, it looked fantastic. And I have to say, like, I was at a family barbecue earlier on today, and I showed a lot of people Henry on the Go, showing them their first ever demo of VR, and they were just like blown away by it, because not only is it 360, but you also get this real sense of depth with that kind of video because of this new technology.
It's a weird one, Mike. I tried it as well, and actually the way I would describe it is because there's a weird quality to the video, in that, you know, when you've been VRing for so long, you expect that stereo depth, you expect to be able to see that. But I would agree with you in that I had to kind of like, it was like a spit take. It's like a halfway step between 360 video, which is kind of rubbish, and full VR, which is kind of awesome. It's kind of in the middle. I'd put it there.
It's like the best 360 video you'll ever see. Like,
right
now.
Absolutely. It's the best 360 video that I've seen.
If you played Henry or experienced Henry, you can just see how they build his house. Like, there's depth everywhere. You can really look into the corners, and everything has been made so nicely. So you can even, if you have a 5K 360, but you're not playing with, let's say, filmmaking the right way, then you're still not going to reach. So with this one, it's a great example of.
Mike, did you now say that was 5K by 5K?
Yeah, so it says 5K times 5K at 60 frames per second. But it's the way that they compress this video into a way that it can be downloadable by, like, I think it's like a couple of gig max.
It's 1.3K. He actually ended up creating 3 versions of it. He answered somebody on Twitter. So the full res video is a 31 gig download, which is not available. Then he did it's like a variable or a dynamic encoding of the video to get it down to 1.3, so people, you know, Go owners could download it.
But
we got a question. We got a question for Paradise DK. You say, Mike, was the Henry experience smooth?
Yeah, really smooth. Yeah, like flawless. And it was so impressive. Like you said, it stays at a stable 60 frames per second, which is great. And Carmack was saying that this is kind of going to be setting the standard for 360 video in the future, and he's going to be releasing these tools and secrets about how he did this to sort of dev teams so they can start implementing this in their own videos as well.
It seems that people in the chat are very excited about it as well, because we got Fluke Rochi saying that the new encode of Henry is the only 360 video that even think of using to demo VR. It's that good.
Yeah, it's going to be my go-to app to demo the Go now from here on out.
It's just so unoffensive, isn't it? You know, a little spiky hedgehog guy who pops some balloons. Sorry, spoiler. You know.
The only thing I did find disappointing though is they've actually streamlined the content. So they've actually cut out the first segment of the experience. Yes. So I don't know if you recall,
but the introduction, you mean?
Yeah, the introduction that said like, like because Elijah Wood narrates the beginning and says, Henry likes to hug his friends, but they don't like him because he's prickly and they get spikes in him. So that's why they tend to leave him. Yeah. And that's, obviously it starts off with his birthday party. But yeah, you don't get that beginning narration. You just get the end narration by Elijah Wood that sort of wraps up the story.
Why did they do that?
We don't know. And maybe it was to cut down the size of the video file. Maybe I don't know. But yeah, it's very, very nice. It's the best way right now, in my opinion, to demonstrate the Go to new people to VR. So you can check that out for free today. Next up in quick news, we've got the Vive wireless adapter is coming soon, apparently. So HTC were showing off the collaboration with DisplayLink at E3 this week, and they were showing off the new wireless adapter, and they were showing off with a demo of Serious Sam with some like really huge Gatling guns. And I don't know if that's the one that you tried out previously, Zim, with the Gatling gun. Was that Serious Sam as well, or was that
Serious Sam? So the actual working. I'm not sure Gatling gun is the minigun.
Minigun, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I was like, Gatling gun is kind of old school, but
it's Wild West.
I'd love to do that in some kind of like Battlefield or something. Do like a Battlefield VR Gatling gun. But yeah, I did. It was a fully turning, rotating, heavy. Yeah. It was Serious Sam VR when they had. I think it was the Lost Hope.
Yeah, I think they were demoing the same game. So they were showing off this new wireless adapter with the sort of minigun and Serious Sam, and it's going to work with the HTC Vive and the Vive Pro. It works very similar to the TP-Cast in that you've got this kind of wireless module on the top of your head. The TP-Cast actually has a second one that's on your hip with the battery, but this solution looks like it's all in one sort of module on your head, and then you've got one single cable that goes down your back to a battery pack that's probably on a belt around your waist.
The cool thing about Serious Sam is that they didn't go for mixed reality this time. They had like a curved screen, and there was a player standing in front of that, so you could see him playing towards the curved screen, and it was like a set camera, a first-person camera, and you could see what he was playing. So they didn't go for mixed reality, but something else, and it looked nice.
Yeah, it did. It looked very impressive. Like you say, very visually entertaining for the audience that are just standing there watching it. Yeah. But we don't have any sort of pricing over what this is going to cost right now. But I sort of estimate that it's probably going to be around the sort of $300 price range. Very similar to that of like the TP-Cast, because the TP-Cast is running at that sort of price. And that's the only other wireless solution available right now.
And how much for the minigun?
Yeah, exactly. I want one of those, right? It looks so cool.
Trust me, you want one.
Yeah, I don't think they're for sale, unfortunately. I think we need to sort of jerry-rig one up ourselves. But I have to say, like, being one of the people that sort of is now using wireless VR as my sort of daily driver, I didn't think it was never going to be a big deal. Like, I wasn't that fussed about it. When I got the TP-Cast originally, I was very sort of a naysayer about the technology. I thought it's just a wire after all. It doesn't make a big difference. But I have to say, like, I would struggle to go back now, I think. I'm really
that makes sense. It's like going from like a phone with like a big screen to a phone with like a smaller screen. Yeah. You know, you get so used to something that you're used to it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And even though you have these kind of like compromises you have to make, you know, the field of view is very slightly reduced. And then sometimes you get latency issues very, very occasionally. But I can happily deal with that for the wireless solution. And especially like when I was playing Budget Cuts, which also in quick news is available this week now. It's finally released. Thank you. When I was playing Budget Cuts, I really found, because it's like a room scale game, that I was moving around the environment in my room so much. To have the freedom of the wireless solution, you could really sort of like roll around the floor and duck and dive and crawl on your hands and knees. So it's perfect for that. And I think to go back, I would really struggle now. But yeah, so if you're interested in a wireless solution for your Vive, then yeah, this wireless adapter will apparently be coming sort of near to the sort of end of the summer. But I think it's going to cost around $300, but we don't know for definite the pricing yet. So let's dive into our main topics. But before we get into that, apparently Nathie's got some E3 surprises for us, which I'm super intrigued about. So I'll hand it over to you, dude. You can let us know what you've been up to.
So because I appreciate you guys so much and we're having so much fun at the podcast as well, I decided to like get a gift for everyone. So let me just start with Rowdy. So have a virtual drum roll, please.
Yay! I feel like we're in an episode of Oprah.
Yes. Yeah, it's all free. So Rowdy.
Oh no.
Here's your
new,
awesome
that's actually pretty cool.
Cap.
Actually.
That's pretty cool.
So enjoy, man. I will send it to you.
I only got this one. That's like the only I had another one.
Yeah.
But that one like got thrown in the wash and it lost like a lot of its color. So.
Yeah, that hat looks legit. Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then Mike, you will be getting a cool t-shirt.
Ooh, sick. Yeah. Now I can actually say that I was there. I can just pretend that I was there.
You can like everyone that you have been there, you know, and And then, last but not least, Zim.
Oh yeah.
You will get a E3 Zim clock.
Let's go up there.
Yeah. I know. I was like, he has a boring clock, so let's just get something nice, and you can have all kinds of times, red gamer time, you know, and it's all there. It's all there.
That's sick. Yeah.
So
nice.
Very
nice gifts. Very nice gifts. Thank you very much, Nathie. Really appreciate it, dude.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Very nice. So let's dive into the E3 news this week. And let's start off with our predictions from last week, because we had a few ideas of what was going to happen. Most of them turned out to be completely wrong. So let's kind of go back and recap about what we sort of said. So last week, one of my main predictions was that Alien Isolation 2 was going to be announced at E3, because we had this kind of leaked picture of Amanda, the main character from the game, leaked on Reddit, and there was this kind of news story about it, and their official website at Creative Assembly had been taken down, so there's a lot of thought that they were just going to sort of update it with the new details of Alien Isolation 2. Yep. Unfortunately, nothing. No, that didn't happen. So unfortunately, guys, we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer to get another Alien Isolation game.
Shame.
Very, very sad.
Well, to keep the rumors going at E3, there's also a lot going on behind closed doors. So you don't know. Maybe they showed off some gameplay to very private, like, I don't know.
Yeah. Does this mean we're gonna have to torture Nathie after the show to find out?
I don't know anything. I don't know anything. Seriously.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Yeah, I know.
I see that look in Rowdy's eye of like, I'm getting the screwdriver ready.
Chainsaw.
But yeah, but the thing is, if you're interested in Alien Isolation and you haven't checked out the original game, the devs of the mod have actually updated it recently, so it's way better than it originally was. So maybe now's a good time to jump into it if you haven't experienced that one already.
Yeah. That's what the chat has been saying as well. There's been a massive Mother VR update, snap turning, and no more screens in your face.
Yeah. So perfect. Go and check it out. And if you haven't checked out Alien Isolation in VR, make sure you got a spare pair of underwear nearby, because you're probably going to need it.
Wear brown pants. That's my advice.
Oh, and play it standing if you're a real daredevil.
Yeah, the real MVP. You've got to play it standing up. So the other prediction that I had, which again turned out to be false, was that Resident Evil 7 would be finally announced for PC. But it's interesting to see, though, that Jason Rubin, during a sort of an interview at E3, said that he really sort of monitored the Oculus Reddit and really sort of delved deep into the comments and what the community wanted. So the community was like, okay, if he's going to read this, then we're going to make sure he sees this. And they were all like, where the heck is Resident Evil 7 on PC? So he did actually tweet out afterwards that he was aware of it and he was aware that the community wants it. So we all sort of backed that comment, and I sort of added my own little bit to it. So we're just waiting for Capcom.
It sounds like okay, Oculus needs to negotiate with them how much money they need to pay to bring it to PC right now. That's how it sounds.
Yeah. I really hope it does, though. Like, ever since it was originally announced for PSVR, I was like, okay, it's going to come to PC eventually. I'll be fine. Like, I can live without playing it for now. But like now, as time goes on, and I've actually got a PSVR, I'm like, Oh,
but I still think it's just an exclusive and not a timed exclusive. But
right.
I don't know.
You don't think it'll ever come to PC?
I did play other Resident Evils on PC, so there is a possibility it's going to happen. But I don't know. Like nowadays, they like to play it very hard. Where let's say God of War, you will never see that coming to PC, I guess. So I mean, there's so many games that you will never play on PC.
True.
But since it's VR, people want it, of course, on PC.
Yeah, of course. So the next bit of news, which we were actually right about, makes a change, was Beat Saber coming to PSVR.
Yes.
It was pretty obvious that it was going to happen, but I'm really pleased that they did officially announce it, and they showed it off a lot at E3 as well on PSVR. And they also showed off the new trailer, which has a brand new track, actually, that they sort of teased in the trailer as well. And the devs announced that that's going to be a little teaser to new tracks that are coming to the PC VR version as well. So I'd imagine when the PSVR version drops, there'll be new tracks for PC as well. But I don't think really the PC community cares that much because they're too busy modding the game and adding their own custom tracks anyway. And that is that is so great. Like as I've mentioned before, if you haven't checked out Beat Saber, go and check it out and try out some custom tracks, especially Gangnam Style. It's freaking hilarious.
I saw you play that one,
what that ecosystem is going to be like, because it's one of the rare places, and I suppose, again, we said Skyrim before and Fallout, you know, games that are heavily modded and have a huge mod community in that draw. Beat Saber is a very new game, but already, as you said, there's that core component of, I want to play my song. Can I just play that song, please? So I'm really wondering if this is going to have a positive impact where I'm a gamer. I see on the PS store, you know, here's Beat Saber, hot new thing. I've heard of that. I've seen it on Facebook or whatever. Start playing that, get a little disappointed that I'm locked into these songs and think, oh, now I've got to go over and buy a Rift. So I'm wondering if actually Beat Saber launching on PlayStation is going to end up selling more Rifts and Vives than anything else.
Possibly, because that community, man, they're so passionate about that game, and they've done some amazing mods. Like even like, do you know the original Live videos, which was like this mixed reality view? They've replicated that without the need of a green screen, and they just use a custom avatar now, so you can be Deadpool and actually play in that view. It looks incredible.
I saw some guy playing it with like you know, the swords from Halo, like the like the I forgot how they call like those light blade kind of things, like they was like playing it with that. Like, it looks so freaking cool.
It's just so awesome, so awesome. So the other thing I sort of wanted out of E3 this year was something from Microsoft, and me and Rowdy, like we watched the show together. We were sort of like chatting on Discord at the same time. We're having quite a lot of fun actually, just discussing all the announcements. But we were just like, there was just nothing VR. There was one little snippet, and Rowdy, I'll let you sort of mention it.
It was quite hilarious because I think it lasted for like 1.5 seconds or something in total, which was basically just like I think it was Cyberpunk, the game.
It was,
right? It was Cyberpunk, which looks really awesome, by the way. But there was like a very short snippet in that trailer that they were showing. It was like a kid playing with VR. I'll look up the tweet that I posted and I'll drop it in later. But it was just a little bit ridiculous that, you know, there's like was not even like a mention of virtual reality, or we're working on something, or like I would have expected at least something
like a tease or something.
Yeah, like a tease, but I mean maybe that was the tease, like the Cyberpunk trailer.
yeah. But like, go on.
I think they are just waiting for their new console. And I don't think they have to be in VR right now or have to mention it even. It's still like very early, but they need to do it right before the tipping point when VR becomes mainstream. So like we're getting closer to that, but I don't think they really had to do that at all.
Yeah. But it does seem like the PlayStation really dominated the show this year at E3. You know, they had a great show in terms of like exclusive titles, new titles that they showed off. And it's just such a shame because, you know, PSVR is really thriving now as a community. They're getting all these great games. And PC VR is still doing really great in its own right as well. But it would just be nice to see some more competition. Like in PC VR, we've got competition with like the Rift, the Vive. You got Windows mixed reality as well. And we just don't seem to have that competition in the console space. Like it's just PlayStation dominates. And as much as I think that's great, and I love what PlayStation's doing, because a bit like Oculus, they're funding a lot of games as well. It would just be nice to see another big player come into VR and sort of throw their own hat into the ring.
Yeah, I think so too. Like competition in exclusives and stuff like that is going to be interesting. But I think they are still waiting. I think they are working on something, that's for sure. But it's just that they are waiting for the right moment to launch, because we all know that PlayStation VR, like, it's a nice headset, but it's also limited in a way. So if they can like step into VR with their new hardware and then do it, I think there are more possibilities of what you can do then. And maybe they were like, oh shit, we're already too late, because I mean, PlayStation started off so early with Project Morpheus and stuff like that. Well, Microsoft was kind of late, so I think they need to catch up, and they need all the time because if you just launch something half baked, it's gonna like kind of ruin the experience. So they need to be sure everything is ready to go.
I have to be honest though, I was a little bit like, because I watched pretty much all of the conferences. I was a little bit disappointed, even from like Sony, like the amount of VR that came from that, or that was shown during the conference. Of course, I don't know what stuff they all showed on the show floor, but like just in general, like, you know, from Microsoft, from Sony, from Bethesda, you know, the amount of VR that I saw that was really being shown during the show, I found a little bit disappointing. Yeah.
But this is the thing, like, there was so much VR that was actually announced, and this is the thing, like post show, there was a lot of negativity in like the mainstream media, and even like VR sort of specific websites were like hating on the fact that the show wasn't a great one for VR. But I think I have to disagree, because like there was a lot of VR that actually came out of it. Like, I put a trailer compilation together after the show just to sort of show everything that came out. There was actually tons of stuff there, mainly PlayStation, admittedly, but there was a lot of VR there. And I think as well, like we've got to realize that this is like the first generation of consumer VR headsets we're dealing with here right now. Like, we're like in the NES days in terms of like Nintendo, for example. Like, we're just on the starting block still, and yet we still have these amazing experiences and really polished games and big studios backing it. It's only going to be a matter of time before it gets bigger. And I think as well, like possibly like my theory behind the lack of PC VR announcements is that we know that Santa Cruz is in the hands of developers right now. So I would imagine behind the scenes, everyone that's worth their salt is probably working on like a Santa Cruz game for when that finally launches. So Oculus can come out of the gates and say, well, here's 50 Santa Cruz exclusive titles.
I mean, that's the thing. Like if you make a VR game, it's a sensitive thing. You can't just talk about it out of nowhere. Say like, I'm working on something. No, you want to sometimes keep it like a complete secret. And then when you're really ready to do it, then you show it, you know? So there is a lot of VR, but we don't see it. And I can tell you, outside of like E3, there were so many places where VR developers had their own like apartment where they were showing off some VR. So maybe not as an announcement, but there was so much VR everywhere. Kind of like
that's the thing that I mean. But I think actually in general, the entire stuff that was being announced at E3 was a little bit... I don't know, maybe I expected just more. Though, I mean, there were like a few titles that I was like, okay, this looks really awesome. But for the rest, I was like, I had the feeling it was a little bit of like a moderate version of E3 this year. It wasn't
E3
really
also
anything.
Tends to be, I mean, I've always associated E3 with long time frames. And I think that's what we got. We got quite a bit of stuff that's 2019. You know, that isn't, it's not landing this year. You're not going to get to play it for Christmas. You're not playing it in August. You know, you're going to have to wait for it. But there's enough there that, I suppose I'm kind of in the middle of it, so I can see why people were disappointed. But also E3 kind of sometimes tends to be that way.
Yeah,
because it does tend to be stuff that it's a wish list almost. It's like, this is the stuff you're going to get in some time, but it's a little picture of the future. So I welcomed it. And I think the thing I liked the most about this E3 is, from what you can see on the webcast, they didn't feck about. It wasn't a dude flapping his gums on stage for like 2 hours. It was trailer, like bit in the middle trailer. Like, they really did a good job that way. So I've got to take my hat off for E3 and the coordinators.
Plus, if you look at the lineup they showed of PC VR games and PlayStation ones, like, we haven't seen anything where we're like, that's kind of weird. Why are they making this now? Like, everything made sense as well. And I think all the games that are coming out are a good push for the VR industry. And yes, there were not that many that they were showing off publicly, at least. But still, they are going to be a good push for VR. I mean, Wolfenstein and Prey and also like Beat Saber for PlayStation and Vacation Simulator, etc. They are all very, very like big pushes for VR. So I think that will make... So if you look at it from that side, it's very positive because people are going to buy more headsets. I saw so many tweets after the Sony press conference of people saying like, I need to buy a headset because this is the game I wanted to play in VR. You know, so it's giving good signals.
Lads, a question, and particularly to Nathie since he was there, but I was keeping my eyes and ears open for, but I didn't see anything about it. Is the new Serious Sam game going to support VR?
I don't know. Like
that's been confirmed, right?
I think it will.
One of the motorcycle.
They kind of tried to catch up with Serious Sam with all the other VR modes they added, so I'm almost sure they're gonna do it.
That's what I was thinking. Every other title recently.
Popular Serious Sam was in general with all the VR support they added. So if that had like a good effect on them, then they will do it with the rest as well. But I think so.
They tweeted out. Crow Team tweeted out about this, and I think they said something along the lines like they were going to cool their heels on VR for a bit. From what I can remember, I'd have to dig up the tweets.
They did that.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Rowdy?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm really interested, because I'm a big Serious Sam fan.
I think HTC is working together with them, so it could be that HTC is kind of like funding them a bit to make it happen for this new Serious Sam one. So that could be an option. But let's say like what they were showing at E3, like I made a little list here of things. So PlayStation VR was killing it on the show. Okay, they were pretty much carrying the show. If they weren't there, then it would have been a very sad E3. Okay, seriously. So they were showing off Vacation Simulator. They were showing off Ghost Giant, Firewall, Astrobot, Megalith, Evasion, Blood and Truth, and Beat Saber. And of course, that's like a small list, but you need to know they had like several booths for one game. And it was like a long booth full of like games that you could play, even like a second floor as well. And there were like long lines for that. People were loving it. So I think from that perspective, it was a very good show. And then Facebook Gaming was showing off 3 VR games, Defector, Moss, and Echo Combat. They just had 3 booths, okay? Just 3 small little areas where you could play. And I have the feeling they were more focusing on the Facebook Gaming side than really VR. And it was Facebook Gaming, not really an Oculus booth. I think if you go to Gamescom, you will see like an actual like Oculus booth with a lot of VR. Like E3 is a press paradise. It's not really for consumers. There were consumers, but usually it's there to write about a new game that is coming out or make a video about that. So it's not really playing. It's more like, hey, this is what we are working on. I'm sure they also had something going on behind closed doors for Stormland. Haven't seen anything, but I'm sure there was something going on because we saw Jason Rubin talking about Stormland on a big stage. They were showing off some fresh gameplay too. So there is stuff going on because the demos are there. The CEO of Insomniac Games was also on the floor somewhere. So yeah, there is something going on that part. And then HTC, they didn't have a booth, but they partnered up with Bethesda to show off Wolfenstein, Cyberpilot, and Prey. Now I still don't know if Prey Moonshot or Prey Hunter something. I'm still not sure what the title is of this escape game, because it was an escape game actually. Very interesting. And then last but not least, what I played is, I didn't play that much. I mainly connected with lots of developers, trying to meet as many people as I could. But I did play a few titles. So I played Vacation Simulator. You guys may know I'm kind of like fanboying on Vacation Simulator. So I was standing at the booth and I was waving at them, and then they kind of sneaked me in and I could play a little bit. So, okay, guys, this is nice. So we had Job Simulator, and I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this should be the last kind of like job simulator game. You know, maybe they should come up with something new, because I would love to see Alchemy Labs also stepping it up with something else. So I was like, okay, or this is exactly the same as we have seen before, kind of like Job Simulator meets Rick and Morty, and then with some new features. But this was indeed an open world job simulator game on an island with different missions where people need your help for silly things. You had an inventory. You actually had a backpack in Job Simulator where you could like put money in and random things that were on the ground. Like, it was such a vibrant game with so much going on. Like, there were things on the floor. I could grab things in the air. And so their demo was like a E3 like on Rails demo, basically. So it ended after 10 minutes. And they had a little part of the island. They had a shop where you could buy things. You could wear like a donut hat or like glasses, and you could buy all kinds of things. So put them in your inventory. They had like a lollipop machine where you could buy like lollipops and also ice cream and things like that. But the main idea was you had like different spots with different job bots, and one was like, hey, I lost my soccer ball, you need to find it, you had to give it to them, and then they made some random jokes. You had someone that wanted to catch butterflies with you, so you had to jump all the time to kind of like get them. So there were like different little missions you could do. But the funny thing was, like, there was a DJ on a like some kind of a Baywatch kind of like tower, and he was like making music. And then after like 10 minutes, everyone started dancing in this like vacation simulator game, and then it just ended. So I was like, yeah, very nice. Plus the CEO or one of the CEOs was there. I think his name is Devin Reimer. And he was just looking at how everyone was playing. And that's the cool thing. Like, developers enjoy it so much when you come and play their game, because they're like, yeah, he gets it. Like, oh, he did that. Yeah. Exactly. You know, they're always like kind of like standing behind you, looking at how you play the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, vacation simulator, an open world vacation game.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. But again, as I said, after this one, I'm very curious what is going to be the next take with like vacation simulator, or like in the universe of maybe, because I think again, like Quill is a famous character, but job bots are also like they fit in this, right?
Of course. And it's interesting, like you say, that it's an open world in this game, and that's what excites me about it.
But also an inventory, like job simulator with
cool. It seems like they're pushing it to the next level, which is nice. But like let's talk about Prey then, because that's another interesting title that you got to check out. And you mentioned the Moon Star, I think it's Moonstar DLC, Moonshot DLC, and that's right. Like, if you buy the game now on Steam, you can buy it with the Moonshot DLC, and that will come with Transtar and Typhon Hunter, which are the two VR modes. So did you get to try out both the VR modes?
No, I only played an escape game or experience, and I'm not sure if that was Moonshot or the other one. I'm still confused.
So Moonshot is the DLC pack. That's the name of the pack. In that pack is Transtar, which is the single player experience you tried, and then Typhon Hunter is the multiplayer one. So you can tell us a bit more about the single player one.
And now I get it. Mike is explaining me the actual like. So yeah, I played the Prey escape experience. And I can tell you that, first of all, when I stepped into their booth, because Bethesda is always doing it in a very cool way. They have a 360 setup. They have like a glass, like you're like in a glass display. You're kind of like they want to show other people outside of the booth what they are playing.
You're like in a fishbowl.
Yeah, and it was all open. They didn't have screens on the walls where people could see what I was playing exactly, because they want people to get curious why I'm doing weird things in VR. But the first thing I noticed before I stepped in is they used the new base stations. They used the Vive Pro with the Intel wireless, the Y-Gig. And I had the new controllers, and the base stations were also the newer ones.
Very nice.
Because Bethesda worked together with HTC once again to show off their demos. But like graphically, Prey was very nice. They pretty much used the office of the Pancake Prey game, and they built like an escape game in there. And I was allowed to play it as long as I wanted, because there was a time limit on the escape game. If you didn't make it in time, then you were game over, because they don't want people to spend hours in VR there because they can't finish the escape game, you know? So I was allowed to play it twice. So I did like a quick speed run in the second run. But they use teleportation. The developer told me that they are going for smooth locomotion as well. It's coming out soon, so expect this in maybe a month. And what you had to do was you had to like solve different parts of the office and kind of like set things in motion. But it was pretty much Prey as you play it on PC and then in VR. And the mimics were there, the spiders, you know, and it was very creepy. Like, they were everywhere. You had to like wear a certain headset to kind of see them. It was very creepy, but it felt like an experience. I'm not sure if this is going to have like another like story to it, but I think it was just a experience.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I say, there's this TranStar one, which is this escape room, and then there's Typhon Hunter, which is the multiplayer VR version. And like you say, in the multiplayer version, you sort of can play as mimics as well.
Yeah.
So you can transform yourself into like a mug and then just jump out and transform and like scare the crap out of someone.
That's so
give them
cool.
recurring nightmares for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
But yeah, if you buy Prey, you can buy it with the Mooncrash DLC, and there's a bundle on Steam right now. It's available for $39.99 in US dollars or $29.99 in British pounds. So you get the Pancake game, and then when the DLC launches with these VR editions, you can play those as well.
Yeah. So at the moment, just to be clear, there's no VR support for Prey.
Not right now. The Mooncrash DLC is out, but I think these VR editions are coming soon.
Because when I saw that, when I saw this latch onto Prey, I was like, hang on a second here, did I miss a memo? Because this looks good.
Yeah, and it looks like it's just going to be available through Steam. Like, I don't think it's going to be available in the Oculus Store.
Yeah. I did feel like the game, this experience was good, but the thing I missed was they had like nice hands, but no body, for example. Right. And you could grab things, but not in that satisfying way you have seen with other games, where you grab something and your character is holding it. But like it was just my hand going through objects, and it was kind of like in my hand. But I don't know, it worked. It was a solid experience.
Yeah.
Sorry, dude.
That Nathie had on his head in that experience is something else, I have to say. Wait, you said the new controllers. I assume you meant Knuckles. So there's a new revision of the Vive wands.
Yeah.
Different color.
Different color, yeah.
Exact same trackpad, or any difference there?
No, it's the same. I think it's the same, at least. Otherwise, I would have noticed it. But this was my first time playing wireless, by the way. Never done that before. I was like, when you like some people lose an arm and then they still feel it. I had the same thing with my cable. I was like, where's my cable? You know? And my brother as well. Like he was recording me. So like usually I have to watch out for the cables, but there was no cable, and it worked really well. There was a little bit of a delay, but you need to know like they run these demos all day and everything heats up. And I mean, with batteries as well, if everything is wireless and it. But it was nice. It was so weird to just walk around everywhere. I still felt like I had to be kind of like careful because usually I have that cable. Yeah. And the weight of that Intel Y-Gig wasn't bad at all. I totally forgot about it when I was in VR.
Did you have like a battery pack on a belt?
Yes. Yeah. And it was very small. It was like this size, and I could just clip it on. Not very heavy. And I think you can, like what we heard is like 3 hours, right?
Right.
So. Yeah, it's nice.
So tell us about the game that I'm really interested in hearing about, and that is Trover Saves the Universe, which is like PSVR exclusive title, right?
Yeah. Okay, so before we proceed, like I also played Wolfenstein Cyberpilot next to Prey. Yeah, you're getting too hyped, Mike. Yeah. I totally feel you because I'm also very hyped about that. But the Wolfenstein one, I expected to be like a BJ, and shoot those guns and like, really badass. In the end, I was surprised because when the dev told me, like, he said, like, we made a game where you are a hacker and you can hack into all the enemies from Wolfenstein. I was like, okay. So in the end, it's pretty much like, okay, you can be every enemy from the Wolfenstein universe, but you're kind of like hacking into their systems, and then you're sitting in like a little capsule on their back or maybe in front of their head, something like that. So you're kind of like in your own little hacking room, but not really inside the beast. It's more like a safe experience. It felt very arcadey. I did like the fact that I was in the world of Wolfenstein because like Bethesda graphical wise, like visual wise, so nice. It's always so nice. But I don't know. I didn't really feel that one. For me, Wolfenstein is about me being BJ, getting into a Nazi headquarters and shooting my way out.
Yeah, and it seems like for me, like it seemed like the flamethrower wasn't that exciting as a weapon.
No, you could only like in this demo you were playing as the Panzerhund, the mechanical dog, and you could use the flamethrower, and you could also do like a dashing attack. You could like flip cars, but it felt like everything was like kind of like pre-made, where it's not like you could really play around with the physics or anything like that. You could use the flamethrower and the bashing, but they like the thing is this demo was maybe not that impressive, but again, for the VR industry, as if this is an experience for free, then it will promote VR once again. So it's kind of like, okay, maybe not that good, but still it's nice to have. Plus there will be more enemies later on. And it could be that this is just a demo, that they are still working on this, and this is like something early. You don't know. Like, you don't know how much time they already spend on this.
It's just good to see that they're introducing so many different series to virtual reality. Just seeing, you know, what works, what doesn't work. They did it with Skyrim, they did it with Fallout, they're now bringing Prey, they're now doing Wolfenstein. It's just like dipping the toes everywhere and seeing like, oh, this works, this works.
And Bethesda is showing the other companies too, like, okay, we want to bring all of our titles in VR. Maybe you guys should do that too, you know? So I'm so happy that maybe it wasn't the Wolfenstein I expected, but it's still very nice that it's there and that we can now say, okay, there was a Wolfenstein VR game very early on, you know?
Yeah. And I think as well, like, if they showed off other enemies that have more interesting weapons, then it could be a more fun game, I think. It's just that the Panzerhund, I think, just with the flamethrower was a bit,
it was like a little arcadey, and you couldn't die in a demo, and it wasn't very... I mean, it's a different take on Wolfenstein. Like, how many times did Bethesda really make something else outside, like me playing as a first-person character shooting all the Nazis? This was something else. So you're so used in your head to, like, the idea of being a hacker and hacking enemies from Wolfenstein sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah. We got a question from the chat as well. The Mad Hatter asked you, how many times did you wash your hair after playing all of these VR games?
Oh my! So I mean, the thing is, like, your hair gets so like fat after all the demos. It's the same when I'm playing here at home. Like, I'm washing my hair so many times, and that's why Mike doesn't have hair, people.
Related to that question, isn't that a question about hygiene on site? Because sometimes these conventions, if you go to a convention that's open to the public and not focused on press, they can be kind of nasty because you put your face into something where you're like, I mean, I've had PSVRs where it's like, Jesus, you know.
I didn't really like. Honestly, I never had a moment where I had to wear, for example, those like things on my head with like the little. Never had that. And with these demos as well, I played. They cleaned the lenses. Maybe they have a couple of like face covers, but I didn't really see anyone really. Again, like, it's a press thing, but still, it should be a standard to have that, because you don't want to, you know, get sick of something strange.
So let's finally dive into Trover. Like, I'm desperate to find out more about it. And like, this will probably have to be the final game before we sort of wrap up this week's show. But we'll just talk all day, and I would talk all day about this kind of stuff. So tell me all about Trover. I'm ready.
Okay, so first of all, the way like I didn't have an appointment with Squanch to play it, because they announced their new game on the press conference, right? So when you're at E3, you have your appointments, but you don't really have. Like, I didn't know this, so I was like, oh, okay, it's coming out, so maybe we should try this. And it's funny, one of the developers tweeted me. He said, like, I'm a big fan of your channel, and you need to play our game too. So it's like, he wanted to meet me, but he also wanted me to show his new game, you know? So like, we met, and they took me to like the back lot where they had like Tetris and Ghost Giant and some other games that, like, they weren't really showing off on the show floor just yet. And Justin Roiland was there as well. He was just chilling there and then showing off the demos. And I mean, you know, that's the fun part about Squanch Games. It's a lovely bunch of people, very creative, very passionate, totally different than the rest of the VR industry. They're like, they do their own thing and they don't care, and they just, you know, and that's a good thing. That's why these games are so cool, because they don't really have boundaries. Maybe you know, like, the jokes are always like on point and things like that. So I stepped into VR. Funny enough, one of the devs, I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but he made a photo with like his middle finger up in the air, because they were just laughing their asses off me being in VR. But like, Justin Roiland was doing an interview in front of me, so I was kind of like the background scene for his interview. and it was so funny, and I had to kind of like keep my laughter like inside, because like, oh shit, maybe I don't want to be that guy, and I'll like ruin his interview. But it was so funny, man. This demo, like, same with Vacation Simulator, they made kind of like an on rails demo, and I mean, it was like accounting, you know, where they were just messing around with you all the time. It was a first/third person VR game. So You were sitting on some kind of swivel chair, some kind of like little UFO, and you were like one of those characters, and you had a controller in your hand, the PlayStation controller, and with that you could like, it was tracked, so you could kind of like use it to interact with, but you had to control a character in front of you. But the cool thing is you were kind of like in the scene with them. So when your character that you were controlling was talking to another character, you were sitting next to it and they were looking at you too. So it's like a first person / third person interactive experience. It's kind of like Lucky Still and Adventure Time in VR and Along Together and Moss, you know. And it was also random, you know, like I still don't know what I exactly played. It was pretty much about a guy that had to go to a house somewhere on like the mountains, and you kind of had to follow a path. And I think the guy from accounting is in there too, the one in the log, you know, the one in the tree.
Oh, the one that
he has to be. He has to be.
But they told me there were so many Easter eggs, and with this E3 demo, they were kind of like treating you as a journalist, like a dumb one, and they were kind of like trolling you around. Like I had to do a puzzle, and it was a very serious puzzle, and then there was one puzzle that was so impossible to finish that they were like, well, you don't have to do this puzzle. But they just let you do it for like 5 minutes. They're like, yeah, but did you know you don't have to do this puzzle? There was like a door I had to open, and you had to solve 3 puzzles, and the last one was impossible to solve, but you could just smack the door with like a lightsaber, because your character was like a purple guy with okay, this sounds very strange.
Yeah. I think it's shown in the demo, because we just showed the demo as well, and I think it's shown in there as well.
You are a character on yourself, and then you control a third-person character, and this guy has 2 eyes, okay, but his 2 eyes are 2 hats, okay, so 2 hats in his eyes, and these eyes can be replaced. So you have different power-ups that you can use, so you can put them into your eyes every time, okay? Yeah. And every power up is different. So and those little hats in your eyes also talk. Wow. So your eyes can talk.
Eyeception.
Eyeception. Yes.
This is the kind of thing.
This was like a sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
I was going to say this is the kind of thing that Justin Roiland just cooks up, you know, in his crazy brain. You know,
and the guy's a genius. In the trailer, I see that yellow guy flying around. So you were playing the third-person game, and this chair you had could also move up and down. So you could go higher into the air to kind of get like a third-person view from above, or also go down on the ground. So you could kind of like move your chair around. The thing is, this chair can teleport to places. So it wasn't like a smooth camera behind the character. You were just going to different parts of the level, and then you could kind of play there and then go to the next one. Oh. But this yellow guy, he was talking to you all the time. Like the dialogue, again, you could listen to this for hours. They even said that there is a part that just reads all the lines they had in the game, and you can listen to that for like 2 hours.
Wow.
Like that, and then it ends. Yeah. But this yellow guy, he was like flying in your screen all the time, and you were trying to play the third-person games, like talk to you, and you're like, you had to kind of like smack him to get him out of your view.
We got a question from the chat on this. As it shows mode included, how do you think it would play on just a pancake version? Did the VR really feel needed?
That's a good one. So yes, Trover is going to be a flat game too. I think yes, because I mean, you know, when you played accounting, there are things flying towards you. There are things in your face. People really talk directly to you. You know, they look into your eyes. They talk to you. They want to know things from you. So I think yes. But I'm also happy that people that are on a pancake monitor can also play this, because people love this stuff. Like I saw the press conference, people were so jelly that you could play this in VR, and they said like, why can I not play this on my monitor, you know? So yes, I think so. And I'm sure they worked on both like sides on that, but I mean, the world in VR of like, you know, accounting, and it's just like, I want to tell you the storyline, but I don't know. I don't know what I played, but at the end, and this is exactly why we love Squanch games so much, is so the demo was done. You were at a spot where you could see a part of the world, and he said like, this is where you can all go, and this is going to be awesome. And then he started to scream like they do in accounting. He said something like, yeah, man, this game is 10 out of 10, man. This is best game ever, best game ever. And you're a journalist, you're gonna say this is the best game ever, right? Oh yeah, now it's fading to black. That means you need to go to your next appointment, right? And stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot more, you know, but you can't play that now. You need to play it again, you know. You need to maybe buy the game or get a key and stuff like that. They were kind of like playing with the journalist part, you know. Like, you need to write now and say that it's the best game ever. So funny. It's so funny, but the developers were so nice. These guys are very talented, and yeah, it's a good company, and I think it's also very good for the industry as well. And that's what I kind of like. That was for me the E3. Like, it felt like a family. We felt like connected, and like everyone is so passionate about what they are doing for years now, you know. And that's the nice part of it. Everyone really wants VR to succeed. Everyone puts so much love and passion and hard work in all these demos, you know. Everyone tries to kind of like make E3 better, you know, but also try to get more games out there. And I don't know, it felt good. Felt very good.
Sounds like a good one. Sounds like a good one. So is there any questions from the chat while I sort of wrap this week's show up?
It's just PD saying that Nathie turned into Pickle Rick for a moment.
Pickle Rick.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking there, Mike, well, I was watching E3 on Twitch, of course. One of the things I noticed every time, like when Stormland hit, right, in chat, one thing I noticed was this thing that we tend to see when people are kind of cut out, that they can't afford VR, or, you know, they're just not in that space. A lot of people are, you know, put up the faces, the yawning guy. They're like, oh, no, I don't want to see this. And I think we're still there. I mean, you said it earlier in the show, but I think we're still in that space where maybe it's still a year or two before we're actually sitting in.
Yeah, well, Stormland looked good though. I was really impressed by that one.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, the mainstream media and everyone else wants to keep on saying that VR is dead. Well, VR is not dead. VR is alive and kicking, and it's here to stay.
I can tell you. Okay, this is the last thing I'm going to tell you about E3. I did so many things, but I went to the Servio's party. They had an office party, and they were like, I don't know how many people, maybe 200-300 people, all people from the industry. They had like a big DJ booth. Someone was playing Electronauts in VR and entertaining the crowd on a big screen. And they had like dancers around it, like for Electronauts. They had circus people, like tall people, just walking around and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. People from VR chat were there, and like, like I was just standing on, because I was allowed to stand on the DJ booth and look down at this big crowd, and then I realized like VR is not dead at all, and we knew this, but this is one of those examples where you can just see it's like fucking huge already. Yeah, it's really big, and now you also start to hear people about, okay, we're getting there now. Like we kind of feel like there is a finish line to where it becomes mainstream.
And,
you know?
And we're getting more and more quality titles, because I was still showing the Stormland trailer right now. The amount of detail that goes into something like this. I mean, a few years ago when VR came out, we could only dream of something like this being developed for virtual reality, not being ported from another title, but being
we kind of like
specifically developed.
We seem to kind of like the shovelware period seems to kind of like fade away slowly. Because I did hear developers talk about that. They said, like, we want to kind of make the best game. And everyone agreed with me on that. Like, there was so much shelfware on Steam, and there still is. And also on Oculus Home. Like, on every platform, there's so much weird stuff out there, too. But soon we will reach a part where you can just trust what you buy. You know everything is pretty good. Like what PlayStation has, you know? Where on PlayStation, you can just trust the consumer to buy their stuff there. And there's not really something going on there where you get scammed. Like, most games are pretty good. And that's where we're heading to now. Like a certain quality level, people know what the standard is going to be. They expect VR to work in a certain way, and that's what we need. So yeah, let's say the new people that bought headsets like 1 or 2 years ago finally start to have certain expectations that people need to, you know, make games for.
Yeah, true.
Cool. Sounds like you had an awesome week, dude. Awesome week. I'd love to talk more about E3, but we're going to have to wrap the show up. We've been babbling on for a while now. But I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this one. It's been really interesting to see Nathie's sort of like impressions of E3 from the show floor directly. I really want to sort of get involved in that. So we sort of, you know, go away, we go to an event, we come back, we give our own take on it.
I was the only VR YouTuber at E3. People were like, hey, Nathie, what are you doing here? How did you get here? You know? I came all the way to America, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we definitely want to do more of that in the future, so we can come back and give you the inside scoop.
I actually asked for you guys, like, where's the rest? I said, like, yeah, well, they're somewhere else.
So just a reminder for everyone as we wrap this show up, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show that is live streamed every Saturday on Nathie's YouTube channel. You can tune into the new times of 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, 12 midday in Central US. If you missed the live stream, you can catch up with the re-upload on my own channel, Virtual Reality Oasis, or check out the audio version, which is available on Google Play Music, iTunes, and on SoundCloud. I hope you guys and girls have enjoyed this episode of the VR and we'll see you on next week's episode. So until then, bye-bye for now. See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.